Welcome to the channel, this is Oblivion, and in today's video I Theorycraft re-refines for characters voted on by the community. If you would like to vote for the characters who will be in the next video, there will be a link to the poll in the description down below. Or head over to my community page. Okay, let's see if I can put some new life into these old characters. Our first character is going to be one of the Asker trio, Sharena herself. As one of the Asker trio, Sharena has a ton of problems, such as not being mergeable, and also being one of the first units released in the game. Her weapon refine is actually still decent as it does a powerful effect of neutralizing the foe's bonuses during combat, though the speed defense bond isn't much to write home about. So let's look at her new effect and see what I can do to upgrade this a little bit to make her a bit stronger. Grant speed plus 3. If unit's HP is greater than 25%, or if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attack speed, defense, and resistance plus 5 to unit during combat, neutralizes foe's bonuses during combat. A very simple new effect for a weapon, but it kind of puts her in line with other units that are coming out this generation. Gives her the stats she desperately needs, while keeping that powerful neutralization of the foe's bonuses during combat, which has proven to be a very powerful effect. Very simple new effect, but let's go ahead and check out the refine where I try to really capture Sharena's personality while also giving her a ton of power. If unit's HP is greater than 25%, or allies within 2 spaces, grants attack speed, defense, and resistance plus 5 to unit during combat. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants the following effect to unit and allies within 2 spaces. Grants bonus to attack, speed, defense, and resistance during combat equal current penalty on each of unit stats times 2. So this is an omni-unity effect, and the reason why I gave it to Sharena is because I think it captures her personality quite well. After all, Sharena is a very positive and upright character who is always trying to make the best of every situation. And what better way to do that in game than turning debuffs into positive effects? Not only does this give Sharena an extremely powerful effect, it also allows her to be an amazing support ally, offering unity to anyone within 2 spaces at the beginning of the turn. This essentially grants the grand strategy buff that Duo Crom does, so this does mean that the units can kind of wander off and do whatever they want, and as long as Sharena is within 2 spaces at the beginning of the next turn, she can give that buff out again. As an Asker trio, Sharena will always suffer from not being able to be merged up, so I thought it was best to give her a supportive role with a very powerful effect, but at the same time she could take advantage of this effect herself and become a very powerful lance unit, especially during her bonus season. Next up, we have the eldest sister of the White Wings, Palla. Now, Palla is one of those Gen 1 sword units as well, and unfortunately her refine, while unique and cool in some ways, it was also quite bad because of the weapon triangle advantage and disadvantage tied into the weapon. My idea for the new effect and refine was to capture the leader position of the White Wings. So I wanted to make Palla kind of like the leader of a flying team, but I didn't want to completely remove the weapon triangle advantage effect either. So let's see what I did with her new effect. Grants attack plus 3. If unit's HP is greater than 25%, or if the number of flying units on a team is greater than or equal to 2, grants attack, speed, defense, and resistance plus 5 to unit, and unit can move to a space adjacent to any flying ally. If unit has weapon triangle advantage, boosts attack by 20%, and deals damage equal 20% of unit's attack. So this is a pretty powerful effect. It allows her to get plus 5 to all stats as long as you build her team with flying on it, or if her HP is good enough, which should be an easy condition to meet. Next, she gets a Wings of Mercy with no health condition, and instead a flying ally condition, which can be extremely powerful if you want to play flying emblem. And then lastly, we keep the weapon triangle advantage into her weapon, but we remove the negative part where she loses 20% attack if facing off against a blue unit, and instead we double down, making it so that she could really destroy some green units with not only a boost of 20% attack to the weapon triangle advantage, but also 20% true damage based off her own attack. Next, let's move on to refine where I try to capture that aspect of her being the leader of a flying unit. If number of flying units on team is greater than or equal to 2, grants attack speed, defense, and resistance plus 5 to unit during combat, and at start of turn, grants unit can move to a space adjacent to any flying ally within 2 spaces, to all flying units on the team. If the number of flying units on team is greater than or equal to 3, or if unit is within 2 spaces of a flying ally, and if unit initiates combat, unit attacks twice. So this new refine ties Palla's new power to being on a flying emblem team, which I think is very unique and cool, and then she also grants all flying allies on her team at the beginning of the turn, unit can move to a space adjacent to any flying ally within 2 spaces. So they don't even need to be near her at the beginning of the turn, everyone on the map will get this effect and it will allow the flying units to really be able to create cool formations. Then lastly, we just made it so that her triangle attack was a bit easier to get off. It does kind of remove some of the flavor of the triangle attack, but it does make Palla overall stronger and does still have that triangle effect with having to have 3 flying units on a team or a flying ally within 2 spaces. Overall, this new refine will give Palla a new boost in power, but at the same time allow her to fill the role of being a flying leader on a flying emblem team, which suits her as the oldest sister of the White Wings. Next up, we have Boey, who is an amazing unit and actually got a very solid refine to begin with, and has aged decently well. His refine essentially gives him weapon triangle advantage against colorless foes, and inflicts weapon triangle disadvantage on colorless foes during combat, but more importantly it gives him a close counter effect, except against when fighting dragons. With this new refine and new effect, I wanted to double down on this and really make Boey into a tank of a mage. So let's see if I was able to accomplish that. For Boey's new effect, we have grants defense +3. If foe's HP is greater than 75%, or if foe initiates combat, grants attack and defense +6 to unit during combat, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. Grants weapon triangle advantage against colorless foes, and inflicts weapon triangle disadvantage on colorless foes during combat. Essentially with this new effect, we're just trying to get Boey up to the new generation of units, giving him that flat defense bonus, as well as giving him some extra stats and a follow-up attack, so that he's not so reliant on quick riposte 3, which isn't the best way to get follow-up attacks in. Now let's move on to the new refine, which I think gives Boey a very unique niche and makes him very cool. If unit's HP is greater than 25% or foe initiates combat, grants attack and defense +6 to unit during combat, disables skills that calculate damage using the lower of foe's defense or res, and instead the foe must target unit's defense when calculating damage. Unit can counterattack regardless of range. With this new refine, I want to introduce a new effect I like to call adaptive defense, and what this essentially does is forces opponents to target Boey's defense instead of getting the chance to attack his resistance. This allows Boey to become a very tanky unit while ignoring his low resistance. This would turn Boey into some of the coolest close counter mages we've ever had, not only making him very unique, but very powerful. And then lastly, of course, I upgrade his close counter to just full close counter. I don't think there's any reason to make it so that he can't counterattack the dragons, especially with this new effect where he can force them to target his defense. This new refine turns Boey into a super powerful mage tank, and at the same time captures his personality of always being reliable. Last but not least, we have the Hero King himself, Marth. Now, unfortunately, like the other units on this list, Marth was one of the first units that came out with that initial release of the game, and so he is a bit underwhelming even with his refine. Essentially, all he has is effective against dragons, a renewal effect, and then an Omni Drive, but not even +3 to all stats. Definitely not fitting for the Hero King himself. So when it came to his new effect and new refine, I wanted to capture Marth and his personality of relying and supporting allies, but at the same time I didn't want to turn him into anything that was exactly similar to Brave or Legendary Marth, where Brave Marth is reliant on his allies' buffs, and Legendary Marth is essentially a stat stacking monster. So I kind of wanted to capture a supportive Marth that could also have a lot of power. So let's go ahead and check out his new effect. Grant speed +3, effective against dragon foes. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attack, speed, defense, and resistance +5 to unit during combat. At start of turn, restores 10 HP and neutralizes penalty on unit and allies within 2 spaces. So this new effect on his weapon essentially gives him like an odd recovery that goes off every turn, but the healing is halved so it's not too powerful, but at the same time it keeps that neutralizing penalty effect, which is extremely important for when you're trying to support allies with powerful buffs. This new effect is similar to his original base effect, but just kind of upgraded, giving more stats and more power in the healing and penalty neutralization. Now let's go to the refine, where Marth becomes one of the most powerful supports in the game. If unit's HP is greater than 25% or unit initiates combat, grants attack, speed, defense, and resistance +5 to unit during combat. At start of turn, if any ally is within 2 spaces, grants bonus doubler to unit and allies within 2 spaces. Now this is extremely powerful. This is essentially going to give Marth not only bonus doubler for himself, but more importantly, any ally within 2 spaces at the beginning of the turn. This is going to allow Marth to become an extremely powerful support, making his whole team more powerful when he's around at the beginning of the turn, while also allowing Marth to fight himself with that amazing amount of stats he can get. Combining this with his new effect will not only allow him to support them for via bonus doubler, but also removing penalties, which can help to remove one of the biggest counters to bonus doubler, panic effects. This would skyrocket Marth into one of the best support positions in the game, while still not invalidating other bonus doubler supports like Legendary Elliewood, who can hit anyone on the map no matter where they are at. Overall, I think this refine allows base Marth to become an extremely powerful support and kind of capture Marth's personality, as he is the foundation of the team who can support everyone while also still leading the charge with his powerful stat bonuses. So what do you think of my refines? Did I do a good job? Was I able to capture their personality and give them new powers so they could become meta units? I would love to hear your opinion in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to vote in the next community poll so we can choose who's going to be in the next video. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe, as it keeps the channel growing and keeps the content coming out. This has been Oblivion, and I'll catch you all later with more Fire Emblem Heroes.